That was Virginia. And then Thomas Redmond, you'll get to know him in a moment if you don't know him already. And me at the bottom, Thomas and I, we are colleagues in the project, what is it called? Training Development Team in GWO. Yeah. Thomas, it's all yours. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. As Thomas highlighted, we're part of the training development team, and our job is writing training standards and trying to support training providers and turning those into training programs by writing them in an effective way. And the topic today is something to think about, some food for thought for yourselves as training managers and instructors and trainers of other instructors that might support you in your work, turning a training standard into an engaging and interesting training course. So it's a method of learning design, and this video is going to give us just a snapshot of what it is and how it's used, and then we'll get into some of the details. So enjoy this short video to kick off.
Planning a module or program is a challenge. To start that planning process, academic teams can use a new kind of workshop.
Hello, welcome to the ABC Curriculum Design Workshop. Thanks very much for coming. What we're going to do today is help you design your modules and your new program.
A storyboard is used to design the student experience. But first, what about the ABC method?
ABC stands for Arena, Blended, Connected. It's a design method we've been using in UCL for about a year to try to look at how we kind of renew and redevelop our programs to include things like blended learning, the connected curriculum and so on. The principle behind this method is we think about the student's experience in terms of a series of activities.
Central is a storyboard, and it is very important actually right now that it is paper-based one. It gets people together and they get things moving and designing. It helps people be more creative.
And to help that creativity, the tasks are timed.
You have to be timed and it'll be chasing you.
The first task is to create a summary, a tweet-sized summary.
In 140 characters.
Social change in modern societies, in the UK in a comparative context.
You got a tweet.
Our module was Introduction to Social Research, and our tweet is Understanding and Exploring the World Through Social Research.
The next stage is this one here.
Then it helps to visualise the variety of learning types.
Draw this, kind of just a rough idea of how you think the shape of the module is going to be in terms of these activity types and a blend. Pick up the cards by all means. Just look at both sides of them, just see what's on them. Because you need to know that in order to know what these things mean. We've got, how many minutes? 5 minutes for that, I think?
5 minutes for this, please.
A rectangle.
Think outside the box.
Next, storyboard the module structure week by week.
I thought it was useful for them.
30 hours in total for this module.
The most important stage is to select and order the range of activities.
What you might find is actually, this goes quite quickly. It seems like a big task, but actually you've already done most of the main thinking now, and it's really just turning these into activities. What we love about the ABC method is that it gives a chance for module and program teams to come together and discuss together the design of their new programs or review of their programs. It gives them a chance to think about new ideas, to bring in kind of new types of activities that they might not have thought about before, but very importantly, do it together and spark off ideas together. And you'll hear behind us, there's always a great discussion, there's a great buzz, and they end up with something that's really useful they can take away with and use in the future.
The thing I found most useful was just thinking about the different ways of learning and the different activities that you could use, and how you could use certain activities in lecture formats to break up long sessions, and how you could use other formats in seminars.
It's useful because for the first time we actually sit down and discuss what we have to do.
And get a chance to work together.
And having a systematic method to plan is very helpful, makes you think.
And also we did change our thinking. We thought we were going to stick to the original kind of plan here, but we did change, so yeah, it was useful.
We found it useful to have group joint discussions because there was a lot that came up while we were just trying to air ideas,
And we also shifted things around quite a bit more than I think we might have originally thought.
So it's been a really, really helpful workshop for us. We're developing a new programme at BSc Social Sciences, and this workshop has helped us think both about the individual modules and the content of them, delivery and so on, but also thinking of the bigger picture. So getting people together in one room, getting the module teams to talk to each other, and also walking from table to table and talking between the modules has been really, really helpful. So I'm delighted. I'm really pleased with it.
Okay. So as you could see in the little presentation video there, this is the ABC learning design method. It was invented by University College London. It's been around for more than 10 years, and it stands for this ARENA, which was the school within UCL that developed it. So ARENA Blended Connected, and it's been evolving since that time, and it's still evolving. It's a method of learning design using a workshop format to work on existing modules and programs, to further develop them, to enhance the way that you deliver them. And it's used a lot now as well for digitalization of your programs. I'll share some of the changes and things that have evolved with this method, which make it really suitable for technology-enhanced learning. It's designed to be really fast, learner-centered and activity-based. And it was originally set up as this conversational workshop in-person format, and it works really well in that format. And now there's also a lot of tools to do the same thing online. The tools for collaborating and working online have developed so much over the last certainly 5 or 6 years after COVID that this can effectively be run really well in an online venue as well. The outcome of this is that you come out with a storyboard for your module or your program and your modules, which lays out a blend of different types of learning approaches and helps you to kind of pick out then activities that give you this variety of different approaches to engaging participants in fun, active, interactive learning that's really connected to your objectives and your curriculum. So it supports you with your design of a new program, or you can apply it to an existing program. And the workshop approach is, as I say, a practical facilitated workshop. So it's led by somebody who has spent more time learning all about this system. And you bring in your teams involved in programs. So it could be training managers, training instructors, learning designers, material developers, and it could be different disciplines working on different modules, working in this collaborative space, online or in person. And you organize it as 90 minutes to 120 minutes, where you create these visual representations of the learning journey. And you use these 6 generic kind of learner-orientated activity types. And I will say, you'll see these activity types as suggestions. It's an open source workshop method, so it means you can develop it and you can change it. You could make 5 or 4 types, or you could make 7 types, depending on the way that you are resourced to do training. So you can develop this and customize it as well. It fits into your way of developing programs. So it's in this design stage of development. Some of us may be familiar with the ADDIE model, where we kind of analyze the training need, we design a program, and then we develop the detailed program. And when you look at GWO, this might be where you take the standard, you design at the high level how you're going to run the program as a mixture of activities, and then you develop your lesson plans and your really detailed planning documents. And then implementing and evaluating comes later to make sure it's effective. So this fits into that design stage. Or if you're looking on the other side, maybe this is a bit more like how you might do it in your training business, where you pick out a standard from GWO, you do your module design, you develop your lessons, and then you pilot and test. So this will fit into that kind of early module design, or indeed coming back to a program to redesign it. And this is the format. So ABC Learning Design with a few stages in the journey in your workshop. The first one you can see, number 1, is something we're going to practice today. You tweak the course, is what we say, and then you draw the shape of the module. So tweeting the module is a way of getting all of your teams that are involved in a program on the same page. You basically summarize the program in the length of a tweet. And if you can't do that and all agree on that very effectively, then probably you need to really have a discussion and make sure everyone's on the same page about what the program is about and what's the goal and intention and outcome of your module. So it's a useful tool to get people on the same page. Then drawing the course is the next stage. That's where we take these learning activity types and we sketch out what we think is going to be the kind of balance of different types of activity. And we're going to also practice that today. So we're going to do a couple of the first steps of the format during this session. And what comes after that is the storyboarding. That takes a little bit more time, and you lay out the different activity types. You identify opportunities for assessment, and you can see a silver and a gold star. So typically you would say, okay, we're going to put a silver star at every point in the journey of training where we have an assessment opportunity for formative assessment. So assessment that's guiding the learner towards the goals. And then we can put a gold star where we think we have an opportunity for summative assessment, which is the more formal decision-making about somebody's capability. Have they actually achieved the learning objectives? And again, this is useful so that we can balance our learning activities with our assessment opportunities and make sure that we're not missing out on good opportunities to guide people towards the goals. At the end of the storyboarding activity, we then go back to look at our original design, the drawing that we did, the shape, and we reflect and see, okay, have we actually designed what we set out to do? Have we made a different design, and is that okay or not? And we set out a load of actions then for going into our development to really turn our high-level journey into a specific plan of action. So you would then go into the detailed work of designing your lessons in the fine detail. And so we're going to actually do some of this. So you can see the QR code again. If you missed it last time, this will take you to the Slido. On the Slido, you will see a different tab where you can go and you can input your it's actually the format of a question, I think, is how it will appear on your Slido. But what we want you to do is you're going to tweet a module. And so I want everybody to pick a GWO module that they enjoy teaching or that they think is interesting. And you're going to summarize that module in less than 200 characters. You're going to tweet the module, and then we're going to have a look at how you've tweeted your module. Now, make sure to include the name of the module so we know which one you're talking about. And I'm going to give a demonstration. If I was tweeting the session that we're doing today, I would, well, okay, we'll come back to that. So we can see here the Slido, already some stuff coming in. Thank you, Virginia. So I can see from Thomas Grunland, he is summarizing IQT. Thomas, you can read it out.
Okay. IQT is about developing basic pedagogical skills to support participants' learning experiences. The training is a basic instructor training developed by GWO members.
Very interesting. And so I think this is fantastic. I certainly think if you had a group of IQT instructors, you would have plenty opportunity to make sure that everybody was on the same page with this little tweet. Some people might say, I don't think it's basic. I think we should take out the word basic. It shouldn't be basic. It should be advanced, you know. And so it's a nice kind of way of making sure that we're all in the same understanding of something that we're working on together. Do we have any other tweets? Uzu, you should be ready. You were here yesterday. You should have your homework done.
Sort of having network issues here with the signal, but I'll do the tweet just now. No problem.
So we have 10 participants. I'm hoping we can get one more tweet apart from just Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, a quick question. So how do I pass through the survey parts once I've accessed the Slido website? I was on my mobile previously.
So
There, I've had the same problem. There's a tab to the side of it, which if you come off the survey, there's a tab to the left of it, questions. You can type it in there.
The questions tab, okay.
So the Q&A section?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I got
while
it.
we're waiting on more to come in, I'm going to take over from you again, Virginia, for a second. So I'm going to show my tweet. For example, if I was tweeting for this webinar, I might simply say something like, a short introduction to ABC Learning Design for GWO instructors, training managers, course developers, and learning designers. And you will learn what is ABC and how it could support you to design active, blended learning courses. And if somebody didn't agree with me, if Thomas Grunland thought, okay, that's not quite right, that gives us a good chance to surface any misperceptions, disagreements, misalignments. If you have any more tweets, Virginia, you're welcome to show us again on the Slido.
Give me 1 second. There we go. There's one more there.
So ART. So we only have a small group. So who is our anonymous ART tweeter?
Yeah, it's the guys from Sweden, Org Safety here, Joachim and Michael.
Hey, Joachim. So tell us, read out your tweet for us.
Well, advanced rescue training is about learning different rescue methods taken from real-life scenarios within the VTG, and it's an add-on from the BST Working Heights module.
Excellent. I like that. You might say something extra. You might also say there's training suitable for teams and training suitable for single rescuers. We could debate that all day, and we could say, is this good enough information? Do we want to make it longer or shorter? But perfect. So who do we have next? The Floating Foundation Access Module. Okay, I like this one. So who has tweeted this?
Yeah, I did that one.
Okay, Per, give us this one. Read it out.
Yeah, so the Floating Foundation Access Module addresses how to safely access an aggressive floating wind turbine foundation, building on the skills of GWO survival.
Okay, interesting. Is this something in the pipeline? Building on the skills of the sea
You
survival?
might have guessed correctly on that one, yes. Not with GWO. This is an internal program.
Excellent. Okay, very interesting. Floating foundation. How to safely? Okay, great. Access of floating. So we've got dynamic to dynamic transfer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very exciting. Lots of slips and trips.
So this is an opportunity for us to likely utilize and apply this method, the ABC learning design.
Excellent. I like it. Okay. Who is our EFA, passionate EFA instructor?
I'll give you one guess.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it. Let's hear your EFA summary.
I ran out of words. Why say thing in 2 words when you can use 200? GWO EFA is an holistic program to develop practical skills, ability, and appropriate underpinning knowledge to allow participants to provide life-saving care and management of a casualty for an extended period of time.
Excellent. It's a bit like this idea of saying, explain it like I'm 5 years old.
Yeah.
So if you can't explain it in a tweet, think about it more deeply and make it more simple, make it easy to understand for anybody. Okay, Uzu, give us your slinger signaler.
Not really my passion. It's something I recently just started though.
Read it out for us. What we got?
Yeah. Okay. So I said understanding basic communication commands between crane operator and slinger signaler, and the correct attachment of lifting accessories.
Excellent. I would agree. I think that summarizes it quite nicely. And do we have one more before we move on, Virginia?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
We have another EFA. So this is interesting to see 2 different perspectives. So who's our second EFA?
So it's probably me.
Magdalena, hello.
Hello. Yes. IFA is providing knowledge to colleagues responsible not only for work safety, but also for safety and quick assistance in the event of accident, advanced first aid techniques.
Fantastic. And this is a great opportunity. So if you had a group, if you have a big enough training organization and you had two different groups working together on a similar module, the same module, this exactly would be a great opportunity to then share and reflect and say, okay, have you perceived something different than we've perceived in the program, or how we talk about the program or the goals? And maybe they're the same things in two different ways of saying it, or maybe they're different fundamentally. So that's the idea of this first step, tweeting the program. It's a short first step to get everyone on the same page. So let's go back to the next part of the program. And this is really useful when you have people in different departments, different disciplines, instructors compared to a training manager, a health and safety professional in the team, a learning designer, maybe somebody who's doing e-learning development for you. It's a great way to get people on the same page. So before we do the next step, I'm going to just give a bit of an insight into these 6 learning types. So this model uses 6 learning types. They're represented on these cards, and it encourages, the idea is to encourage a blended approach. So having a variety of methods of approaching the learning. And on the back of the cards, or matched up with each learning type, you have learning activity. So these are just suggested activities that would support that type of learning. And this is something, again, that you customize to your training business so that you use the tools, you suggest tools that you have available. Some will have lots of things that others don't, and vice versa. And this is based in some academic literature and research. And if that's your sort of passion, you are very welcome to go and read all about it. So you can see here some of the academic basis for these learning types. This is not the only way of describing how people learn. This is not the only way of doing things. And there are many other theories out there, but this is a nice way of kind of framing learning in a way that helps you design things in an effective way. So the first learning type is acquisition. So with acquisition, this is very much what we probably, many of us grew up with in especially a very old school way of going to learning in school and education, where you are absorbing learning, either through listening or reading, observing. And this can be really effective. And if you sit down and watch YouTube videos and listen to podcasts, you're doing acquisition. And in a maybe a bit more of a less inspiring situation, you're listening to an instructor talk and trying to absorb it. That's acquisition. It can be super effective, and if there's too much of it, it can lose some of its effectiveness. Yes, Thomas, give us a comment there.
It's just a comment from the IQTT courses we are doing. We always begin with a small exercise where we talk about what we have learned recently and why and how. And almost everybody, they do it through acquisition, but they're doing that. They go out, find some YouTube videos, find some podcasts, and it's because they want to do it that acquisition works for them.
Yes. And I think that's beautifully connected to this ABC active. If you're learning through acquisition but not active, but you're passive, that's when it's very ineffective, or can be very ineffective. You need to be very passionate if you're going to sit passively and absorb everything. But when you're really active, involved, and you're seeking out, then I think it's really can be really effective. And self-study, self-directed learning is fantastic. Learning types of activity connected with this, you can see some examples from the kind of conventional training world. Reading, listening, watching demonstrations would be acquisition. And in the digital realm, it could be animations, podcasts, all kinds of rich blended media. The idea with this workshop approach is you see all the blank bullet points. You would take these cards and you would also customize them to the methods that you have available to you and to your participants. So you would add to this the other tools that you know that you have available. And of course, you might remove the ones that you don't think are appropriate or you don't have access to. So you have these as suggested approaches. Collaboration. This is another way for people to learn really effectively. Collaboration embraces discussions, practice with others, and production. But it's really all about working with others. So building on acquisition, and we'll talk about investigations as well as another method. But collaboration brings people together. So anytime you're bringing participants together, you're using collaboration. And sometimes that's easy to forget. Everybody's kind of bunkered down. They're working on their own little piece. And this is just to flag for you, okay, let's see if we could get some group discussions going, working on each other's projects together, reflecting and feeding back to each other. And in the digital realm, with some technology support, that could be, I've seen some fantastic VR systems where learners can all interact in the same digital environment. We're doing it right now on Teams. Chat rooms, discussion boards. It could be synchronous or it could be offline where people can update and share things and others can comment and rate and all that kind of good stuff. So collaboration is the second one. Discussion, you can see, is learning through articulating your ideas and your questions and being open to challenge from others, and also being willing to respond and feedback to others, challenge ideas, or support them from both your teacher, your instructor, and your other learners, your peers in the group. And again, let's hear your thoughts on this, Thomas.
Yeah, nobody else is chipping in, so I want to share my thoughts. Just to say that in the training standards for the last couple of years, we have added the activities of discussions to, and I know that many instructors find it difficult to, how do I organize, how do I design a discussion that leads to the learning objective? But this is just to say, it is a powerful learning tool, the discussion, and I'm happy that it's also part of this ABC design, because that's where people learn also.
Absolutely. And I think we can see some suggested approaches that may be effective. Tutorials, seminars, group discussions, class discussions in the digital world, seminars, email discussions, discussion groups, web conferencing. I think this is certainly somewhere it would be a good support to your instructors to sit down and really think about how you can support discussion as a learning activity, and putting structure in place, goals and boundaries, times, and working in small groups, working in big groups, building variety into it. Because, one hand cannot clap on its own. And I think discussion is the same. You need to really make sure that it's going to work and be effective and get people together. So discussion appears in our standards a lot. And discussion was one of the pillars of this model as well. Investigation is the next one. You can see learning through investigation is about guiding the learners to explore and really particularly to compare and critique. So to compare A to B and look at different solutions to a problem, different potential ways of doing work safely or maybe unsafely, using different tools, coming up with different solutions. So really looking at encouraging some critical thinking. And that can be through looking at documents, it can be looking at resources, instructions, or it could be looking at case studies and things like that. But it's really about being self-directed and encouraging the participants not just to be passive, but to be active in their own learning. And lots of kinds of activities could support this. Study guides, case studies, in the digital realm. This is a place I think that it can really work really well, where you can have animations and case studies and incident reports that have been turned into nice presentation packs, and allowing learners to kind of reflect on, was the solution that was decided on the correct one? Is there different ways that we could have approached things? Again, an activity that you see throughout GWO standards is practice, and absolutely critical for anything that involves particularly practical skills is practice. So learning through practice is about enabling your participants to adapt their actions to the goal, to the task, and getting feedback so they can improve those actions. And feedback comes from lots of places. It can come from an instructor. It can come from a group discussion with your peers. It can come from self-reflection. And of course, it can come from the activity. If the goal is to have the light switch on when you assemble your circuit and the light does not switch on, that's excellent feedback that something is wrong. And it's the same if you cannot operate a rescue device, if you're getting tangled up in the rope, if your hair gets pulled into the rescue device, you've probably made a mistake somewhere. And so practice has lots of ways of receiving feedback, and it's really effective for that reason. And I think we're all familiar with the conventional methods of doing practice for GWO training. In the digital realm, this one is challenging, and it requires some really good systems and design of your tools if you're going to do this effectively. So nowadays we do have more and more virtual reality and simulations. And if you look at the world of aviation or shipping, it's really common for really high quality simulations to be a significant part of practical training for pilots or ships, captains and others. And we see it more and more in GWO as well. And some of it is fantastic and some of it less impressive. So it's something that you need to consider carefully and how it's really supporting learning, because it can kind of look very exciting at first glance, but it needs to really deliver the learning, and that's the important aspect. Production is motivating the learner to consolidate what they've learned by producing an output. This really works in different contexts. You can imagine in GWO Sea Survival, you maybe summarize the end of your individual skills by doing a scenario where you kind of bring things together. In BTT training, you maybe bring together individual skills with tools, safe working with different systems and energy sources to actually put together a system that functions and operates, or that you investigate a fault and you discover the reason why something isn't functioning. And so production is where you bring things together. In a kind of a more academic setting, it might be writing things, an essay or report. In the GWO setting, it's hopefully more likely going to be some artifact that you produce in your work in the training course. And in a digital technology setting, again, if you have the right tools, this is something that you could possibly bring in through digital technology. But again, you probably need some robust platforms and tools to be able to do this within a digital setting. And so this will really depend on what you have available to you in your training business. So this was just to give a flavor of these 6 learning types, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a decision. We're going to pick a GWO module, and we're going to collectively decide on the shape of the training. So we're going to map out how much of each of these 6 learning types we want to use in our storyboard, in our plan. So we're going to pick GWO. This time we're going to pick GWO Advanced Rescue Training. Yesterday we did work at height, so today we're going to do Advanced Rescue Training. The reason I pick Advanced Rescue Training is because it's a slightly more complicated training. It has a lot of practical, but also a lot of kind of core understanding, and it has a lot of group work as well required. So I think it's a nice one to reflect on. So we're looking at GWO ART, let's say Hub Rescue. And if you go to your Slido, Virginia, you could just maybe clarify for me which
Yes. So last time you had to flick through poll and Q&A. This time you need to go back to poll. And in
okay.
poll, you're going to see a few different items to rate.
Okay, so on the poll, you can rate these 6 dimensions. And we're going to use the collective voting to come up with a final number. So everything can't be 100%. So you can say from 1 to 5, on the scale of 1 to 5, how much practice, how much investigation, how much collaboration are we going to use? It's a very broad picture. We're just looking at a broad picture for the ART training. And then we're going to look at our results. So if everybody's working on their scores, I can see we've got 3 responses. Maybe we've got 2 responding. So scores are coming in and we'll see them pop up here.
Yes.
And in a real workshop setting, you would all be, so the way you would work this is the team that are working on a module together would do this collectively. You'd sit down and you'd just draw this on the graph. You'd say, okay, this one's a 5, this one's a 4, this one's a 6. And you could do it between 1 and 5 or 1 and 10, whatever scale you want to use. You end up with a spider diagram, which is the design of the program. Okay, so
for acquisition, we have 3.2 right now.
So give me one moment, Virginia, to just input the scores. So acquisition, just give me the score again.
3.2. And
3.2.
then let's go to the next one. For collaboration, we have 4.5.
4.5, okay.
Then discussion 3.2.
Yeah.
Then investigation 3.7.
3.7.
And practice, we have 5.
5, excellent.
And production, we have 4.
4, okay, interesting. So
I'm giving you back the screen.
Okay, I've captured that in our graph. Okay, so let me share again. Okay, good. So we're back here. So now we have the spider diagram. Now let me just say, if you were to think about, an old school training setting in a primary school, you just listen and listen and listen, and you're expected to regurgitate everything you heard and read. That would look like this. Lots and lots of acquisition and very little of anything else. Oh, am I sharing?
Not sharing. Yeah.
Apologies. Sorry, let me share. I thought I was sharing. Okay, so you're seeing this now?
Yes.
Great. So this is what it looks like in an old school classroom. And on a GWO training program, quite often, in my experience at least, I might see something that looks a bit more like this. Lots and lots of acquisition, which is okay. Hopefully it's interesting and active. And lots of practice, but maybe not very much of other things. And this is something that, this tool would help us to reflect on. In the scoring that we just did, we designed ART to look like this. So here we can see the different dimensions mapped out with our collective agreement. And we would put this to the side, we would do our storyboard. And after we've done our design, we would come back and we would then reflect again on this and say, did we design this thing that we set out to do? And we would then draw over, we'd take a red marker and we'd do our new design, our final design, and we'd see the difference. And this is a really, again, useful tool for a team to really reflect on what they're designing and how they've designed it.
So, Thomas, quick question.
Yes, Per.
So the example that we did, I would deem an analysis based on the fact that we actually know the content and, the design and development of the module, right?
Yes.
So I think I'm getting this correctly, that the intention is to use this as a development tool, a design and development tool, meaning that if you haven't realized and developed that program yet, you would want to sit down and consider to what level you would want to score within those 6 categories. Having sort of a general idea of what kind of activities on those different 6 different types of activities you would want to put in, meaning design your program with.
Yes, exactly. And to be honest, what happens to people in my experience, I've had this experience, you set out with great ambitions and then you get into the depths of it and you sort of fall into your own ways. And at the end of it, you've done your work and you realize, oh, I didn't really achieve what I had envisioned. And so putting it down like this in a visual way helps you to, at the end, reflect again, did we actually do and design what we set out to do? So it doesn't hold you to any strict boundaries, but it gives you an ambition at the start that everyone can see, and it helps you then to reflect at the end if you've really done that. And it can also be used for an existing program. So if you had an existing program, you could apply this method to a program you've already designed that you want to redesign. And particularly where you want to bring in more active and blended methods, and you maybe want to bring in some digital methods. And this is just that kind of tool that helps get the grease into the wheel and get people moving and thinking in a different way.
And I guess what at least what comes to mind with me is that this would be in particular relevant considering the concept of backwards planning. So I represent a manufacturer, right, with a lot of technicians performing day-to-day work. That means that if we are going to consider designing a new program, a new training program, what we want to do is apply the backwards planning principles. So we want to go to an actual work situation and try to identify, break down their tasks into subtasks and do operational task analysis as part of the TNN, training needs analysis, to identify what does proficient guys actually do mastering this skill or this job role or performance. which would then pretty much, to me at least, dictate where the score should be in that model. So that's a different approach, a very, I think, practical approach compared to what you might see in the public educational system, having teachers and learning professionals sort of have an idea of how they would want to design their program. But I think to me, and in our profession, a lot of the job roles and actual job tasks are going to pretty strongly indicate where these 6 sort of levels should land in terms of developing and designing the program.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
I think that's fantastic. And I think one of the strengths of a tool like this is it gives you it gives you some terms and language that help you put that down on paper in a way that's difficult otherwise to do. And of course, this is, as I said, open source. So you might find in your setting, some of these don't really work and you've got something you would like to replace it with that's more suitable. So you could plug in a different approach and a term and still apply this method. And you'll see at the end some different variations that have been built on this method. I'm aware of time, so I want to continue on it, but I can see your hand is raised too, Thomas.
I'll be very quick, just to say that Thomas and I, we talked about yesterday whether we should maybe try to use this also when we do project development work groups. And for you guys who have been in the work groups, give it a thought. And for you guys who have not been in the work groups, join some of our work groups when you are invited. Okay,
I like the plug. And I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think certainly elements of this approach are very compatible with the way that our ambitions when we design a training standard, even when we're writing the standard itself and putting together the first, kind of structure on a standard. Okay, so let me breeze through the rest of the workshop format. So the next stage is storyboarding. So you've kind of set out an ambition for a certain balance of activities. So you can imagine a deck of cards and you've given yourself a certain number of blue cards, pink cards, yellow cards, etc. And you're now going to lay them out on a storyboard, which is your timeline of your program. You flip them over and you have your pre-prepared options for learning activity with your digital and your traditional means highlighted. So then you start to say, okay, we're going to use this here, that there. You see the little stars on the storyboard. You make sure to identify your assessment opportunities. So you build in your opportunities for formative assessment and your moments for summative assessment throughout the module at the right moment. Again, at this stage, you keep it high level. This is, again, 90 minutes to 2 hours. You come out with a storyboard, roughly structuring out your plan of action. It can be done online. So these tools have been developed over the years. You can also run this online. So you'll find lots of resources to actually run these sessions with international teams coming together just like we are today. And so I've done this with my master's groups in an online setting, and it was really effective and fun as well. And so at the end of the session, you have finished up with a snapshot of your plan of action, which lays out your storyboard. You then agree the specific actions to follow up. So what's really important? Learning outcomes. You make sure that you are identifying where you're going to be able to achieve learning outcomes through the activity and how you're going to measure them through your assessment. You look for opportunities for learners to get involved and to give feedback. In the GWO system, you've got to make sure you're meeting your approval requirements, that you have the resources for the learning activities that you're nominating. And again, one of the things you can kind of consider with this is how much do you want to try to put in some online to offline, synchronous to asynchronous. So that means live or not live, group and individual work. So you start to then get into the level of detail that goes into lesson planning and program design in a more detailed way. And so everything that we've shown today is not my invention. This is available open source, loads of resources from the website. You can see the link here, abclearningdesign.org. There are 17 translations. There are many different adaptations of this model. The professors that introduced me to this from DCU in Dublin were involved in the adaptation of this method to digital technology enhanced learning. So there's a lot of digital tools that are linked to different activity types. And so these are ways of kind of prompting and providing some food for thought. So lots and lots of stuff that you can go and access. You can download all of this. Because it's open source, you can customize it and make your own version of it. And so again, I think this is a nice tool for organizations to work on their modules and their designs. So that was a snapshot. I'm going to hand you back to Thomas, and I think we'll have a chance to learn a bit more about what we're doing outside of this session. Thomas.
Thank you, and I'll be very quick. This is just a morning picture from Claire Wright in Australia. Thank you for that. Let's go to the next one, Thomas. And just to say, on the left side, here's an overview of the standards we are releasing in the spring, expectedly in March. I won't go into details on each of them, but you can see it's quite a lot of standards coming out in reviewed conditions. Yeah, does this create any quick questions?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So if you're good, I'm good. This was just to tell you that we are working hard on a lot of standards, and well, you'll see the products in the spring. Don't hesitate to reach out, connect on LinkedIn. We would like to build our network as big and strong as possible. And thank you for joining today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Thomas, for presenting this EPC stuff.
You.
I think it's amazing.
So default question, the recording and presentation material, would that be available to us as participants, or?
We'll send it over tomorrow, Per.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Great. And thank you for everyone's attention and your engagement. I'm here in Spain. We had a solar farm site visit with RWE today with one of our other colleagues, Peter, and I'm actually in Total HSE's new site in Madrid. So they give me a space to do the presentation. So it's just their newly commissioned training facility. So thank you for joining us. I really enjoyed the session today.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Take care.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.